Hey everybody, Sara Peternell here with Family Nutrition Services. Today I've got my handy dandy whiteboard out and I'm excited because this is a topic that I literally repeat in my office over and over and over again. Hashimoto's and gluten, how these two things are related and how this impacts people's health, especially anybody who is having concurrent thyroid and digestive symptoms. I get asked this question a lot. Why, if I have Hashimoto's, do I need to give up gluten? Well, certainly there are a number of research studies. There are a number of authorities on this subject who have come out in favor of a gluten-free diet for reducing anti-thyroid antibodies and also for reducing the autoimmune pathway that begins at the gut level. Now, I've got lots more information about this on my website at my blog, sarapeternell.com. So if you're interested in seeing some of the links that go to those studies or learning more about some of my favorite subject matter experts on this topic, you can go there. But today what I want to do is actually draw some pictures for you that will help to illustrate what the relationship is between gluten, a protein molecule, the digestive system, the immune system, and how this pertains to the thyroid and anti-thyroid autoimmunity that we see with Hashimoto's. So bear with me because I love to draw. I'm a very visual person, but I've actually never drawn on a whiteboard and recorded it at the same time. So I'm going to do my very best. So I'm actually going to do some color coding here. The first thing is that I kind of just want to draw a rudimentary digestive system. Okay, so there you have it. That's sort of your gut lining. Okay, this is, pick either end, if you will. Each of these cell walls of the digestive system on either side is only a single layer thick. This is called the endothelium or epithelial tissue. Okay, so we've got a single cell thickness of the digestive tract, and that is throughout the entire digestive system, primarily in the small intestine where nutrients get absorbed so that we can acquire vitamins and minerals from the foods that we eat. So that's the first step, which is to draw what your digestive system looks like. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a little bit of light reflection on there. Okay, so let's just pretend that what we have here is a molecule of gluten protein, okay? And let's just consider that we basically have a digestive system where this molecule is being consumed on a regular basis. Let's pretend that it looks like that, okay? So what happens when this gluten molecule is present in the digestive system, because it's a frequent component of a person's diet, it's basically always present in the digestive system. And what happens is that the gluten molecule increases an enzyme that your body makes naturally, and this is called zonulin. You may have heard of this term before. Zonulin, zonulin. So just the mere presence of gluten in the digestive system increases the body's production of zonulin. And what zonulin does, it's made by the body, but it's not a real friendly component of the body. Because what it does is it actually creates little tiny micro tears in the digestive system, which breaks apart this single layer, this single cell of the intestines. And so when you have this zonulin present between the digestive cells here, it almost becomes like a little opening, okay? So I'll kind of draw that for you here. So with gluten present, zonulin increases, and zonulin breaks apart these cells that are lining the digestive tract, okay? Now, what you need to know is that gluten, sort of like its name implies, gluten, glue, is kind of sticky, and it's pretty persistent. So it kind of gets up in here into these areas of the digestive tract where it isn't very easily digested, and it's not really being, it's not really offering much benefit in the way of health. The inclusion of gluten in the diet isn't necessarily something that we need to have in order to be healthy. So what happens is you kind of get these little gluten molecules that are essentially sort of breaking through these little open barriers due to the presence of zonulin, and over time they kind of start to pop through to the other side, which is the bloodstream. Oh my goodness. So what you might call these little openings, another great term for it would be essentially leaky gut, okay? So the increase, let me write it down this way, it might be a little easier. The increase of zonulin is basically the prevalence or the occurrence of leaky gut, okay? So the next step then is that you have gluten molecules that now are present on the wrong side of this single cell lining of the digestive system. And so what do you think is on the other side over here? There are going to be immune system cells. Because if you think about it, the immune system being very active and being very prevalent in the digestive system is because it's the first line against any pathogens, any bacteria, viruses, parasites, anything that our body would pick up through food or water or anything that we might eat that's been contaminated, even hand-to-mouth contact or coming in contact with somebody else who maybe has an illness. What this is basically doing is preventing any pathogen activity from going too far in the bloodstream and becoming systemic. So you basically have immune system cells that become activated. They perceive this antigen, this food antigen, as a foreign invader, much like it would with bacteria or with again, a virus or a parasite. So the immune system is now activated to go after these antigens of gluten. Now, we know that technically gluten isn't really, it's not really pathogenic. It's not like a life-threatening bacteria or life-threatening virus or illness. But what it does is it actually turns the immune system on so that the immune system is sort of always feeling sort of a threat. And this is my, rudimentary drawing here of what I perceive to be flames or inflammation, right? Because you have an immune system, if the gluten is always present in the diet and now it's breaking through and it's leaking through to the bloodstream, that these immune cells are always active and always aware, so that the immune system is experiencing what I would call code orange. It's always on. It's always on high alert. And so that level of alert of the immune system not only dampens the body's response to true pathogenic activity, but it does create low-lying inflammation in the body because the immune system is always in fight or flight, sort of in, this sort of survival mode, okay? So you have this inflammation that is present. Now, at the same time, there will be some gluten molecules that do manage to sort of escape and break free and get to elsewhere in the body. Let me just back up a little bit and talk about what we know as far as some of the research and the prevalence of leaky gut and its relationship to autoimmunity. So leaky gut, when it's increased, has been shown in research to lead to an autoimmune state, okay? So that's kind of that next component of this story. All right, so we've got the prevalence of gluten increases the zonulin. The increase in zonulin leads to more of a leaky gut, and we know that leaky gut is one of the possible triggers or determining factors, the pathway for development of autoimmunity. Now, as it pertains to the thyroid specifically, that's what I really want to focus on right now, which is that these little molecules of gluten, I call them the great masquerader, because they can actually look like some substances in the body. If you read my blog, you've heard me talk about a couple of times something called molecular mimicry. And that actually means that the molecules of gluten might look like something else in the body that the body's actually trying to produce. So the first thing is that we have, here's my little sad thyroid over here, supposed to be kind of butterfly shaped, and my purple pen is almost out. Let me switch. So we've got the thyroid, if you will. And also you have thyroid receptors on every single cell within the body. So if you have, let's say your cells for, muscle groups, you have your cells for digestion, for hormone production, right? On each of these cells is actually a receptor site to be able to receive thyroid hormone, right? So it's got a little, almost like a little key and a lock. That's kind of the way I like to think of it, is that you get kind of like a little key in the lock. And so there's a feedback loop here between the receptor sites in the cells and the thyroid, and then of course also up here to the brain, which is sort of the second step there. But basically the cells of the body tell the thyroid when they need more thyroid hormone in order to do their jobs. And the thyroid, as you know, is responsible for managing metabolism and for energy. It helps to support healthy sleep-wake cycles in addition to the adrenal glands. The thyroid helps to manage healthy weight. It manages, hundreds and hundreds of different systems within the body, but the ones that we come to think of a lot would be, cognition, memory, mood, sleep, all those kinds of things, right? With our thyroid energy levels. So we have this little feedback loop that is basically sort of saying, okay, we're ready for some more thyroid hormone, but enter the gluten molecule. And the gluten molecule, again, is the great masquerader, basically can sit inside of these receptor sites. So here you have them, and they're basically holding the seat on the bus. I like to think of them as kind of bullies, right? So you know the sign on the bus that says if someone is pregnant or elderly or needing assistance on the bus, please give them your seat and stand. Well, gluten, the great masquerader, is basically never giving up its seat. Now that it's there, it's basically like, this is awesome and I'm never leaving, right? So gluten as a component of molecular mimicry, meaning that it's a food antigen which can resemble other important molecules, in this case thyroid hormone in the body. Basically what it's doing is it's filling in the thyroid receptor sites, and it's sending, because it's filled, it's sending the message up to the thyroid that less thyroid hormone is needed. So it's basically saying we're all good here. The thyroid will essentially downregulate or produce less thyroid hormone for that very reason, because the thyroid receptor sites have been filled in. So that is problematic. Then at the same time, you also have an affinity in dang it, I'm gonna have to switch to a different color, I guess. You have an affinity within the thyroid itself for gluten. So let's pretend like now my green is purple, and you have an affinity for gluten in the thyroid, basically meaning that the thyroid is a giant magnet, and it also, because it has thyroid receptor sites, but also because there's a lot of immune activity and a lot of toxicity processing that goes on here in the thyroid, that a lot of the thyroid, that a lot of the molecules of gluten will actually go here as well. And because, remember, we've got these immune system cells over here that are sort of attacking the molecules of gluten that it perceives as an antigen, now the immune system is essentially also attacking the thyroid itself. So what happens in this process, and I'm going to start with a fresh slide here for you. What happens is you end up with gluten, and that leads to an increase in zonulin. And again, the increase in zonulin happens in every person, not just in people with autoimmune disease, which leads to leaky gut, which leads to activated immune activity. And chronic inflammation, but also gluten has molecular mimicry, and it sits on thyroid receptor sites and the thyroid itself. So now the immune system will target the thyroid. Okay. All right, so what we have here, we have gluten. The presence of gluten increases zonulin. The presence of increased zonulin activates leaky gut. Leaky gut, because of the exposure to the molecules to the bloodstream and the immune system, turns on the immune system and makes it kind of hypervigilant, which then leads to chronic inflammation in the body. And at the same time, you have this process of gluten creating space, or taking space, if you will, within thyroid receptor sites because of its similarity. And it can both fill in the receptor sites as well as the thyroid. And long term, what we're dealing with here is that the immune system will attack the thyroid. So this is, again, well documented, and you can read more about this on my website. What I want people to know, essentially, in this example of the relationship between gluten and Hashimoto's, and why it is so beneficial to go gluten-free if you have Hashimoto's, is because if you just remove the gluten, you can reverse this entire process. Okay, so I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to show you what happens in this diagram. So this time gluten is going to be orange, okay? And we've got the zonulin is green. Okay, so I'm going to take our little gluten now here, okay? So as soon as you remove gluten from the diet, okay, and you stop eating gluten, the presence of the zonulin will start to go down, and you will actually start to heal and seal, in addition just to the elimination, but in addition also working with a board-certified holistic nutritionist, you'll be able to also healthfully heal up and seal up this digestive tract, all right, so that there's no more leaky gut. Now, even if you still have some gluten that's circulating around in the immune system is basically kind of no longer activated, meaning that these immune system cells, with the reduction of gluten in the digestive system, these immune system cells are getting exposed to less and less. The immune system will kind of start to taper down its attack, right? It will start to kind of rewire. I always say this is a wonky immune system, one that's wired to attack the body. This will help to kind of rewire it. And when we can decrease this immune activity, right? No longer having these molecules of gluten sitting on thyroid receptor sites over here, on all of the different cells, the gluten, where it was present once before, will start to go away. And this will send a nice signal back up to the thyroid. To make more thyroid hormone. And also because the gluten now has decreased from the diet and the immune system is no longer activated, those immune system cells are no longer going after. Time for some new pens. the immune system is no longer going after it. Guess I would have thought of the pens before I started recording this, huh? Anyway, the immune system is no longer going after the thyroid. So you can see that just by removing the gluten, that actually really helps to decrease the attack on the thyroid, and it helps to heal up and seal up the leaky gut. So there's multiple different factions as it pertains to healing of Hashimoto's. So thank you for watching this. Thank you for watching this quick tutorial on what is essentially the process by which Hashimoto's is influenced by the gluten molecule and gluten in the diet, and also the ways in which it can be reversed and it can be healed simply by removing gluten from the diet. So thank you for watching. Please check out some of my other videos all about Hashimoto's. I also have a lot of great detox videos, and if you're curious about some more of those details and some of the research that I was just talking about, for those of you like me who are kind of nerdy and like to get into the science and look through PubMed and do some of the deeper dive on the research, go over to my website and you'll find some more links there as well. So sarapeternell.com. Thanks again and have a great day.